Yeah, you get to sit down.
All right. My name is Richie. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Richie. How much time do you want me to speak for?
I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. I'm really grateful to be here tonight. Thank you guys for the opportunity to come and share my story. Thanks for putting this on. It's kind of cool that, being sober, there's still something to do. That was my biggest fear when I got sober was I was like, all I did to have fun was drink, get high, and anything that I could make go along with that, and it's comforting to know that there are people and committees like this that are in place so that there are things lined up for us to do to still have fun and still be a part of life. So thanks to SWACYPAA for putting this on. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into these things, so.
A lot.
Yeah. Anyways, so my sobriety date's March 15th, 2008, and not a day I really chose, just happened to be the day that I got sober. And much like everybody else, I had a drinking and a drug problem, and my life had gotten to a point where I needed to do something different. But I'll give you a real quick rundown of what got me there. As the big book talks about, I have a problem with control. And throughout my entire life, from when I can remember, which isn't, I don't remember any serious chain of events, to a detail. But, I ran through my years with chaos. I was robbing, cheating, and stealing before I was even getting high. I remember going to Whitewater, which is this big water park in Atlanta where I grew up, and we would just go run turmoil through these rides and stuff, and take over the rides and clothesline people that were on these slides and steal candy from all the stores, And this was way before I was getting high, and I was just the type of person that I was like, if there was anything I could do to get a little bit of attention, I would take it tenfold until I got that little bit, and I'm still mostly like that today, But that's the thing is that Alcoholics Anonymous has taught me that, it's not the drinking problem that makes me who I am. It's the way that I act. It's the way that I react, And I'm grateful that I have a perspective on that today, because if it was just the drinking and drugging, I wouldn't need to be here on a Sunday afternoon, because I've stopped that 5 years ago. But that's what this program's taught me, is that, it's not about the drinking and the drugging anymore. It's about changing me at my core. But anyway, so I went through, a series of, drinking, series of drugging, many of my stories that I know, I've found the details through police reports, and, they normally come better written from somebody else. But, I did everything I possibly could to act out in any possible way. My mom's earliest memories of me are going to be Richie sneaking out and banging on people's doors at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the cops showing up and me denying 100% that I had anything involved. I remember this, it was 7th grade or something. I had all the guys spend the night in my house, and it was always trouble when that happened, because I lived in the basement, I had access to outside, and I knew how to, if you just left the window open from the beginning of the day, the alarm doesn't beep when you go out because it's already been open. And so we'd all group up on the side of the hill, and we'd all, pick who was going to go ring this person's door. And my one buddy, he was a lot like me, he liked to go over the top with everything, and he was like, okay, yeah, I got this one. Didn't tell anyone what he was going to do, but he went up to this door and kicked so hard and banged so hard, this lady thought a bomb went off at her house. And, not 20 minutes later, we have the cops show up, and we see him going through the backyard with flashlights, and we're like, oh, how are we going to get out of this one, And so I made up this elaborate story that someone had come to my back door, banged on our back door, so we chased after him. And this didn't line up very well, because they told us that they followed the footsteps from the lady's house in the dew to my back door. And so it just didn't work out, and that's kind of the way that my life went for a long time, I was always running, I was always gunning, I didn't have a job. I was not near enough responsible. I held a job for like 25 days at one point, but I just hustled people, or I sold stuff or whatever it was, or, I conned mom into giving me $25 to go to the movie theater, and that's what I did. Every single day I woke up and I was like, what do I need to do today to get drunk? What do I need to do today to get high? And it didn't matter if I hurt you, it didn't matter if I stole from you, and it didn't matter if I took something from my dying grandma, it just didn't matter, Probably, one of the hardest things for me to come to terms with when I got sober was how much I really affected all the people around me, and I thought that, like, I'm never home, I'm never, affecting anybody else because I'm just out doing my thing, but really, I didn't realize that, all the people that I loved and cared about, whether I was there or not, missed me, all the people that loved and cared about me, that showed up for me, that bought me out of jail, that got me into rehab, that got all these things, and when I just didn't show any care, show any love, and I just, shunned them, I didn't realize that hurt them, nor did I care, and that's really what my life was like. It was just, I just hurt other people, for the entire time that I was getting high, and even before that, like I talked about before, like I had this pattern of destruction way before I was getting high. I just had no care for what anyone else felt, I'm gonna go kind of forward for a minute, but there's a guy that I've become pretty close to, and he says that, for me, since my number one problem is that I'm selfish and self-centered, I have to put everybody else in this world first, and that's why I think that it's important for me to remember that. It's like, if for so many years all I did was destroy other people's lives and hurt other people, that my number one concern better be to how can I help someone else? How can I put someone else before me, And that's what this program is all about, is it's, through working the 12 steps, I learned how to be useful to other people. And, yeah, and so, so when I drank and got high for a long period of time, I've been in jails and institutions many times. I remember my mom having to make up lies about me going to New York to visit my dad's family because we were living with some family friends while they were building their house, and I had like gotten a violent fight with my stepdad high, and they have to like lie and cover things up for me and put themselves in uncomfortable situations because, I just couldn't get it together, and and I never felt anything about that. I never thought twice about any of that, I went to rehab and I'm just like, well, fuck them, Here they are putting me in this place, leaving me here, and poor me. It's like, why am I here? They're the ones with the problem. They're the ones that are trying to control me, not let me be me, and it was always everybody else's fault, I'd end up in jail, and I'd have a co-defendant, and I'd be like, if this guy had just kept his shit straight in front of the cop, we would have been fine, And it was always everyone else. And if I got caught, it was always a circumstance, And one time I don't know what I was not good for driving, but I was driving down the road and I ended up just like driving into the median and like blowing both my driver's side tires out. And and I had a whole bag of goodies with me, and we had to call the police to get a tow truck. And my buddy's like, well, I'm going to split with all the stuff. And I'm like, no, you're not. We're going to stay right here. We're going to be calm. You can leave if you want to, but I'm calling the police. I'm going to get and he's all, well, we need to get rid of this stuff. We need to eat it. I'm like, that. I just think of it as like a waste. I'm like, we can't just do that just for, a few hours. We're going to pass out anyways, But, and the cops showed up and played it cool. And that was how I thought. It was never, I couldn't fathom the idea of like wasting a good high just for a chance that I was going to get in trouble. I also would like one time I blew my mom's tire out in the neighborhood, and we had to have the car moved, so I also called the police. And I was like friends with all the police, and but the fact was that I put all other circumstances in front of the fact that I had to get high. So if that meant that I had to risk getting in trouble to keep my bag for the morning, I was going to do that. It didn't even come to chance that I was going to wake up in the morning and not have something to change me, And those were the scariest thoughts in my entire life. Like what happened if there was a day or a minute or an hour or, a period of time at all that I couldn't get high or I couldn't get drunk. I couldn't fathom that idea. And I've been to rehab a couple times, but the time that I went to rehab that I actually picked something up, and I remember sitting in detox, and I remember having like 7 days sober, and there was a guy that was about to be moved out to the next step or whatever you want to call it, and he had 10 or 12 days sober, and I remember just thinking, like, how does someone acquire that? How does someone stay sober for 10 or 12 days when I had already had 7? And I thought about things on like such a short-term basis. I was thinking 5 minutes ahead to, like, what do I need to do in 5 minutes to position myself to get what I needed to? And that's a pretty crazy thought, to think that 98% of my drinking and using time, I was thinking about how I was going to continue to feel the way I did. And what a just pitiful way to live. It's sad. It takes away from our families. It takes away from growing up. It takes away from our friends. It takes away from all these things, that we miss out on so many gorgeous things in life because we were too busy getting fucked up. And I'm grateful for Alcoholics Anonymous because it gives me a chance to get all that back plus some. I've been honored to basically grow up in AA. I spent all my years growing up in Atlanta, and for whatever reason, my higher power found it necessary for me to come to Salt Lake City. Don't ask me how, but I moved across the country like 5 months sober, and my mom drove me out here, and it was just going to be like this new start for me. I wanted to ski and climb, and that was like what I was passionate about, and I was planning on doing whatever I could to be able to do that. And I don't necessarily recommend, my story as like the way to do AA, because I see a lot of danger in what I did, but it worked for me. I was able to stay sober. So Alcoholics Anonymous really, really helped me grow up. When I got here, I ran into some intricate people in my life that basically grabbed me. I'm 19 years old. I'm alone. I know nobody in Salt Lake City, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to play poker. We're going to be your friends. Show up," and I did. And for whatever reason, it wasn't like I was like, "Oh, these guys are all great. Like I feel really comfortable." That was like not at all what it was. It was just like I knew that I needed some friends if I was to survive. I knew that if I was alone, I wasn't going to make it. And I actually, when I moved out here, I ended up moving in. I found roommates on the Snowbird website, and my roommates drank and even smoked pot recreationally, or whatever you want to call it, And I remember I asked my sponsor. I said, "Dude, I was like, I'm concerned. I live with people that do this stuff, and this is all stuff that I enjoy to do." And he said, "If you do what this program asks of you, you will stay sober." And that's just it. Is that once I quit the drinking and the drugging, I have a choice whether or not I want to pick up that drug or that drink. I have absolutely the choice. And that was huge for me, because I'm like a black and white kind of guy. I don't like if this situation comes up, maybe I can't stay sober through that. So I like the guarantee. I mean, the big book talks about it all over the book. It says recovered. It doesn't say that I'm recovering. It says I have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind to body. That means that I don't obsess over alcohol anymore. And as long as I don't put that first drink in my body, I don't need to have the second one. And for this kid who spent every waking minute of his entire life getting drunk and getting high, that was huge. That now I have the power that I have is I have the power of choice on if I drink or drug. That's about what I have power over, period. The hardest part for me in Alcoholics Anonymous, because I'm a prideful guy, was realizing that I knew that I had a problem. But it was that second part of the first step, that my life was unmanageable. I had a real problem coming to terms with that. I saw it as like, I never lost a job, but I never really had one. I had a roof over my head. I had food in my tummy because my mom was feeding me and my mom let me stay there. And I looked at all these outside things in my life because that's what I was taught to do, was look at all these outside things. And my life looked like it was kind of together. I had insurance in the car, I had gas in the car, but these were all things that were provided to me. And I didn't look at the fact that when I woke up in the morning, I was like, how do I get high? How do I get drunk? And that's unmanageable. My freedom is 100% taken from that drink. And that's an unmanageable life if I've ever seen one. And, through being here a little bit longer, I found that my life's unmanageable in a lot of other aspects as well. And really that the drinking and the drugging was really just a small part of it, I know plenty of people in this world that can pick up a drink and have a few and set it down. So if other people can do that, then really the problem doesn't lie in the actual drink, it lies in me, and so that's why we have the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and when I got here, like I said, I had a bunch of people that grabbed me that were works of God, coincidence, whatever you want to call it, and I got a sponsor that was like, here's how this works, you show up every single Monday or Tuesday or whatever night it was at this time, don't be late, and I had never, like I said, I didn't have a job, I didn't show up to school, I dropped out of school, so I didn't do anything on time or at a certain time. I mean, you guys know drug dealers, like, they say 5 minutes, they mean 3 hours. That's the time frame I rolled on. And so, the accountability aspect of it was huge for me, because that's what kept me sober for a while. I mean, if you think about it, like, I got no family out here. I got no one that's holding my ass together out here. So the only people that I had were the people in this room, So I learned to be accountable to the other alcoholics in this room, and there's so many different things that a sponsor teaches you, and going through the 12 steps teaches you, and so if you're new today, make sure that you get a sponsor, It's not that one person's way is the right way, it's just that it's not your way, and I've come to learn that. There's a lot of things in AA that are like kind of these unspoken ideas that you learn over time, and like why things work in a certain way, and it's kind of cool how it all plays together. But yeah, so when I first got sober, people grabbed my hands and they're like, here, this is how we do it. Come show up. Come do this. Come do this. And I really learned what the fellowship was all about, and what kind of goes along that for me is probably the scariest thing in AA is that people think that Alcoholics Anonymous is the fellowship, and that all I need to do is have friends in AA and I'm going to be sober, or all I need to do is go to an AA meeting and I'm going to be sober. And and the book even says, like, yeah, sure, I'll stay sober for a period of time, possibly through doing those things, but, in order to ensure immunity from alcohol, I have to work with other alcoholics. And so there's the best part about AA, guys, is that if you do everything, you'll stay sober, as long as you continue to do everything, and that's the thing that I've learned over time. It's like, because there's times where I get up in the morning and I'm like, you know what, I need to rush to work. I don't have time to, spend a little time on God or me in the morning, and I go, and it's those mornings that I'm like, damn, this is a tough day today, and so I'm grateful that I had like a group of friends, not only a sponsor, but a group of friends in this room, because I can look around this room today, and I know a ton of people in this room that work the 12 steps and live the 12 steps, and it's about really becoming a part of my life, because there's times where I can hit one meeting a week. There's times where I haven't been able to hit a meeting in a week, and how do I stay sober on that period of time, and that's what the program of Alcoholics Anonymous teaches me, is how I live daily life like normal human beings do, without hurting other people, without stealing, without drinking, without doing all these other things, and without destroying my own life. Because those are the things that, left to my own devices, that's what happens to me. I'm violent, and I don't win fights. I'm just violent. And I lash out at other people. I lash out at other people. I lie to people. It's night and day what my life is without Alcoholics Anonymous and what it is with it. How much time do I got? 10 minutes? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So program of Alcoholics Anonymous has helped me live. I've gotten to do so many cool things sober. You know, I was a part of SWACYPAA for a long time. Such a blast. You know, going to conferences, going to all these different things that when I first came to AA, I was like, John Ross is just a weird son of a bitch. He does all these conference things, and I remember I was at work one time, and he came up to me and he was like, "Man, Richie, you need to really come to one of these conferences one time." And I was just like, "John, do you realize I've been sober longer than you, and I don't need any of that hoopla, you know?" And
It's true.
and I remember, like, because I just had this pride and this ego that was just out of control. Not much different than it is now, but at least I can look at it a little bit better. But man, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I got a part of AA, you know, and things changed. And I get a part of something else in AA, and that's cool too. But get involved, you know. Like I've been to like Icky Paw and Wacky Paw twice, and like all these different things, and it's just so fun to be a part of. You know, you get to meet so many new people from out of these different areas that, you know, are so much like us, you know? Because like I was saying before, for me, I looked at everything outside perspective, material. Like, oh, when I came to AA, I was 19. I was like, I hadn't lost a house. I hadn't lost a wife. I didn't, you know, beat any wives. I didn't go to college and flunk out. I didn't go to high school. I didn't do all these. I found all these differences. You know? And then finally, when I got sober for a period of time, kind of cleared my mind a little bit, I was finally able to see that it's not anything about that. The thing that makes us common, because it's not our age, it's not our race, hair color, beard, long hair. It's the fact that when I pick up a drink or drug, we all have that same instinct, you know? And the thing is if we all have that same instinct, we got to all have a common solution, you know? And when I go to these big conferences and these big events and I spend time with these other people, when I'm actually, you know, in a space where I talk to other people, I learn that we're all exactly alike, you know, and that I can gain something from most everybody in the room, you know, if I'm just humble enough to take it with grace, you know, and not only that, you get to go and have a lot of fun, you know, like I never played dodgeball sober, you know, you get to come here and there's a time and place for balls in your face, you know, come on, you know. And I never imagined that when I got sober I was going to be able to have fun, you know. And that's what if I had to live sober and be unhappy and be boring, and I wouldn't do it. I'd take the drink. I'd take the drink in a heartbeat, you know. But I have been able to live a life sober, enjoying myself, going on trips, going more places sober than I ever went drunk. You know, I didn't get outside my little region, you know, for the longest time, because who knows what would happen if I got 200 miles away and I couldn't find what I needed to, you know, and that was just a scary thought, you know. But not only that, you get to meet tons of great people, tons of friends, you know. It's just such a blessing, you know. And you know, if you're here, you're uncomfortable, welcome. You know, when I came here, the people's personalities glowed, and I was like just scared shitless. I was like, I don't know if I fit in with these people, you know. And God does miraculous things, you know. He made me open up to you guys, made me become a friend to a lot of you guys, you know. And guys stick with the guys, girls with the girls. There's reasons behind that, you know. But I've gotten so many amazing friendships out of this room in particular, you know. Some of the coolest things that I have in my life today is I'm able to kind of look at things a little bit more, I don't know, open-minded, I guess. Like this morning I went to a baby blessing name thing at the Mormon church. I've never been to the Mormon church before. And it's kind of cool to see. I mean, like, Alcoholics Anonymous' principles aren't just limited to Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. And I'm the quickest person to judge out of anybody. Trust me, don't get me wrong here. You know, but today I was like actually listening to one of these ladies that was speaking, and like, you know, she said a lot of things that I think were really important. You know, for the longest time, like I said, I have a problem with like looking against every one of you guys and comparing myself. You know, and like I'm not at this point yet, and this guy's way more sober than I am. He's been here so much longer. He knows more people. And this lady was saying, you know, the best place to start is right where you are. You know, and I think that's such an important thing to realize. It's like, you know, we are all in different places in our lives. You know, some of us have careers, some of us barely have jobs, you know, but the thing is that every single one of us just has today. You know, we're sober just today, you know, and that makes us one and the same. You know, and one of the other things that she's saying, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was, I'm going to spend too much time remembering. I got a little bit more time. One more thing here. I was down at SWACYPAA last year down in Vegas, and we listened to a speaker, and he was talking about he was going through like the first 3 steps, I think, and one of the things that I always couldn't find the commonality in is like in the first step, what is really the meaning behind the first step for me, you know? And I tell a lot of the kids that I take to the book and anyone that I can is that the first step for me represented that I become humble enough and open-minded enough to take someone else's advice, you know? And by asking that person, you know, I need your help. You know, my life is not working, you know, and I do need your help. And that was a huge step for me because when I came in here, like I said, I knew I had a drinking problem, but I did not know that I needed someone else's help, you know. And I remember when I took my second year chip at the Candlelight meeting before they moved it, my sponsor chipped me and he said, you know, when I met Richie, he thought that he knew everything, and he's like, and that has not changed one damn bit. but you know, and so it kind of tells me, it's like, you know, that's one of the hardest things that I deal with on a daily basis is, you know what, Richie, you don't know shit. Welcome to the club, you know, and that's why I come to Alcoholics Anonymous still. That's why I still reach my hand out as much as I possibly can to other people, because I know that if I don't do those things that I did when I first got sober, I will not stay sober, you know, and I've seen the pattern through so many other people that it's not even funny, you know. Unfortunately, you know, relapse is not just something that happens to newcomers. You know, there's many people that have had long-term sobriety that go back out, you know, and if you ask them, you know, well, how come you went back out? They're not going to tell you, well, you know, 12 steps didn't work for me. You know, they'll probably in a roundabout way tell you that they weren't working for the 12 steps, you know, and that's my job today is that just because I've been sober a period of time does not mean that I get to keep this forever. You know, God might let me, you know, wander on for a little bit of time, you know, but surely he can't hold my ass on forever, you know, and so it's important for me to stay centered right here, you know. That's why I come here, you know. I try and stay involved in service work. I stay current with other people, you know. I stick my hand out, and I go to meetings. The same stuff I did when I first got sober. Maybe I'm just a little bit more lazy with it. You know, and I realize that today, you know, and I do everything I can to keep my ass on, you know. But, man, if you're new here, welcome. You know, if you're been here a while and you're suffering, glad you're here, you know, because I've been in that place too. This program works. You know, if you really, really, really want to stay sober and you really, really, really want a better life, you know, and you want to fit in here, keep coming back. You know, I didn't realize what all these cliches that they really had a meaning and had depth behind it, but stick around and you'll figure it out. You know, but yeah, if there's anything that, you know, you need any help, you need anything, ask me, or ask any of these people that stand up. You know, they need you just as much as you need them. So, but I'm grateful to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to come and share, and I'll take another 24.
Thanks, Richie.